Hi, everybody. Welcome to When Calls the Hallmarkies, and this show where we love talking about When Calls the Heart. And we are finished. We're about to be in the home stretch of season 12. We're talking about episodes 8 and 9 today. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Mary's here.
Hello.
How are ya?
Good. I was just thinking this when I was watching episode 8 and 9, finishing. I'm like, man, these other two shows you and I like All Creatures Great and Small is done,
Oh,
and Miss Scarlet is
yeah,
done. But I was like,
yeah.
thankfully, I still have more When Calls the Heart on Sunday nights because for all my shows to end at once, I'd be just too sad.
Yeah, that's true. And at least for those of us watching the way home, we've got that for a couple more
Oh yeah,
weeks
yeah.
too. So yeah, it was. I mean, especially as the podcaster, it was like all three of these shows all starting up at the same time. I'm
So
like,
it's
ah,
busy, a busy time.
killing me. But it has been a lot of fun too, and it'll be interesting to see what we cover after because we'll have this
Mhm.
void,
I
TV
know.
void.
I know, I know.
Uh,
What's going to come on and help entertain us and make us swoon, and we'll look forward to the next week.
yeah.
We
So if
need
you have all, if you're listening and you have suggestions of what you'd like us to cover, I know there's been some requests for Outlander, things like that. It's always hard with some shows because it's like okay, it's like with this point we're 8 seasons behind, and
yeah.
how do you kind of catch up? But anyway, we would love your suggestions, and of course eventually Heartland's going to be back. We and just like that, which me and Jack's cover, that's coming up sometime this year. So there's never any loss
Yeah,
for
that's
these to
true.
cover.
Yeah.
But we have episodes 8 and 9, and I think that they were both pretty good episodes. Would you say?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had fun. Things happened, and I watched them this time. Usually I'm watching one Sunday one. They were back to back for me too, so they're blurring together, and there was a lot
yeah,
that happened because I watched them back to back.
yeah. I always wait because I want to have both kind of fresh on my mind,
Right.
but they can sort of blur together a little
Yes.
bit. That's fair. That's true.
These two had a lot of it's like they really moved the story along for certain characters or certain plot points a lot between these
Mhm.
two.
Especially for Allie.
That's exactly, I was
Yeah,
thinking of Allie. I was like, there's a
yeah,
lot of Allie, a lot of ranchers, and a lot of Ava. So
yeah, yeah.
we got some things done.
Yes. So episode 8, the show must go on, and it's it's Rosemary's Play gets a new venue and a new cast. Elizabeth takes her curriculum to the airwaves. Faith helps a friend make a decision, and Lucas faces unexpected opposition.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you like this episode
Yes,
overall?
I love anything with the radio and moving that medium through. It's different because I'm just such a geek and a fan of radio history and the way they used to present things on the radio and its formats. And so I loved all that. And then meeting this new character, Roland Rockwell was fun. And then just yeah, the ranching stuff was we got a new kind of bad guy to root against. So it was a fun episode.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it was a fun episode. We have our all of our drama about the Cattlemen's
Yeah.
Association, and this villain, this
Yeah.
cowboy,
He's just mean.
bad guy.
McGinty, I think,
Yeah,
with his big bad boots.
yes. And yeah, he's got to be up there in some of our bigger what calls our bad guys.
Yeah, he's not nice to Allie. Go away, little girl. The adults are
Uh-huh.
talking and
Yeah.
yeah, and his trying to yeah, it's like how many how many big bad guys that pull lots of strings are in this little community and surrounding area that he just comes
Yeah.
out and yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes I have a feeling they only had Martin for like a couple days. I don't think they had him for very long
Oh,
because he's almost always separate. There were a few times when he was up at the bar, but he's almost always separate from everybody else. And he's become how in Home Improvement there was the neighbor next door who would go out and like talk. He's become that for the for Lucas.
That's true. All of a sudden he's there and then he's not.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like there to like give advice, but he hasn't really been involved in any of the like plot.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe they just get him when they get him and sneak him in when
Yeah.
they can.
Yeah, but I do kind of love how he's become like this sage council.
Oh, for
He's
sure. Like let us go address the wise one.
yeah. Yeah. So Elizabeth's going on the daily dialogue and she's going to go up against Eileen Bennett and we knew of course that this was going to end up badly because Rosemary was so like nonchalant about it, so you knew, oh, this lady's going to be a real jerk.
Yeah, doesn't that always the case when you're not expecting something or you are, and then it's like it delivers,
Uh-huh.
because it starts out, oh, nice, and then she just pulls these punches like, well, Elizabeth, you're terrible, and why would you think of doing this? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting because I fall into this trap in my own life where somebody's trying to give me some feedback or criticism or something about a product that I've produced, and immediately I think it's an attack on me. So
Right.
for me, I'm like, nice to Elizabeth, and
Yeah.
maybe she's trying to bring up this. Okay, so we have but she was kind of rude about it. She's like, this loosey goosey idea you have, how does that
Yeah, I'm
equal
calling it fluffy.
fluffy? That's what it was. How
Fluffy.
does this measurable outcome in academic performance and results? And so I kind of see that point, as a parent of kids in the school system, I'm like, oh, that's true. What's the outcome? But then Elizabeth says, don't you want the best from your students? And I loved that too. I thought, oh yeah,
So her curriculum is basically just like use nature. Is that right?
I think it reminds me of this trend I saw in homeschooling called unschooling, where you
Yeah.
just something that you find interesting and then you kind of go down that path of exploring that, and then you use that to then bring in
Yeah.
math, and which, yeah, I can kind of see both of these sides,
Yeah,
like,
like they had the dinosaur example.
yeah,
So you'd
yeah,
use dinosaurs to teach, you'd read something about dinosaurs and then you'd do something about science with dinosaurs and then you'd do like a math problem, but have it be with dinosaurs is kind of the idea.
yeah, where you're really taking their natural curiosity for something and then showing them this is how you learn. And at the same time, I do like this idea of measurable, like if in the end you forgot to teach so and so how to read or do math because they were so excited about dinosaurs, then uh-oh, we've had a disconnect here. But so I don't see
Yeah,
it.
what's tricky about education, and I'm by no means an expert, of course, but what's tricky, I think, about education is that a system fundamentally doesn't work, but
Yeah,
it's the only way,
that's true for each
right?
individual
And so
student. Yeah,
you have to have a system, but it's a system by very nature is going to be flawed. And what I guess where I take issue is when I think there should be measurable results. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think we
yeah.
spend way too much time on it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
you
teaching
know,
to the
I,
test, or and
yeah.
not allowing any kind of curiosity, or yeah, exactly.
I also think it's a mistake to tie funding to tests because like you can be a really good teacher and your students might do badly on the test, but that doesn't mean that you taught them badly. It just means that's where your students are at right now. And
Yeah.
that's useful as a tool to know, okay, this is where the students are at. But like, but the problem becomes when you tie funding behind it, therefore you either have motivation for them to do badly or because sometimes you get more funding if it's a failing school
Oh, say let's
or
give you
you
more money, and
or you
yeah.
have or you have motivation to do to to teach to the test like you're talking about. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
that's
so
what seems like to
interesting.
me could be the
Yeah.
problem.
Well, and I did not like how the superintendent's like, "What do you know? You're in a one-room schoolhouse." And I'm like, "This is actually amazing because Elizabeth has to teach all these levels and all these different people and individuals. She really is becoming this teacher that's bringing out the best in each of them." And
Yeah.
so,
I
yeah,
mean, and then also it that's kind of a it's like a straw man. It's not really pointing out the actual argument that she's making.
yeah.
That it's just the fact that she's a teacher in a one room schoolhouse. That doesn't
Yeah.
really have anything to do with the curriculum that she's putting out. So,
Yeah.
that's like saying that, well, uh, you're no good because of the color shirt you're wearing. Like that doesn't have
Oh,
anything to do
yeah.
with
It's a
like the argument.
mm.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
This new check-in to the
oh
hotel.
yeah. I keep calling him Stranger because
Stranger.
I couldn't remember his name until this next episode. They say it. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, Stranger comes into the saloon hotel.
I didn't even get his name either. So
Yeah.
you're
I have
saying.
it when we do the next episode. I can say it because when you say it, then you're like, oh, that's who you are. Because it's like,
Yeah.
he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
We
Oh
can
yeah.
tell
It
from the
was
beginning.
obvious he was a bad guy. It was really funny how I thought how Nathan kept bringing up Diane DeMarco.
Did you
Yeah,
ever watch
like,
Modern Family? Do you remember how
uh-huh.
Phil and Claire had those like alternate people
Oh
that
yeah.
this is like, I'm like, is Nathan trying to be like, Diane, where are you? You know, like it's a
Yeah.
little bit weird. Well,
I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
he's teasing her and it's pretty
Yeah.
cute. It's pretty cute.
Yeah. And then so we have Nolan Rockwell. He's in town. The Benson Hills Broadcasting is going on there.
Yeah.
Very exciting. And he bought the station. He thinks their show is boring, which
Yes. Was so funny because Rosemary's like, boring? I've never been accused of being boring in my life.
which is funny because she was the one who just earlier in the episode said they did a whole episode on alfalfa.
The Moo Minute.
So I think he might have a point about them being boring.
Talking about. And he's the cousin of Randall Rockwell, which was her nemesis in the Benson Hills Beagle, right? Or something.
Yeah.
These Rockwell family members that come in and are just a burr in Rosie's saddle.
Yeah. So then Hickam, he has a sore throat. Things are starting to spiral. And then this is when we get a scene between Henry and Oliver and Allie. And he says, bullies are rarely as smart as they think they are. He'll make a mistake. What's important is you give him room to make that mistake.
Yeah, sage advice. Very sage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fiona says she's going to San Francisco. She says she's still going to marry this guy. And I think, are we supposed to assume this guy's like a pretty good guy?
Yeah.
She's just not in love with him.
That has to be it because she said that he's nice and he keeps asking, but then every time she talks about him, her face is like the sad emoji. Like she's just sad. And every one of her friends is like, oh, you're getting married. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
So
the Faith says, oh, I'm confused why you're marrying him. And I can understand that because she's sending really strange messages.
So much. She talks about, yeah, I'm going to get married. It's the only way I can make some difference in the world and make a change if I get married. And he's nice. And he asked me, but all the vibes are, I don't want to. And
yeah,
I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah, it's tricky because I mean, at this point, it's like, just go be like a mail order bride or something. Like, just do something else. Like, seems like would be better than whatever this is. You know?
Yeah. Go be like, a Love Comes Softly or something. I don't know.
This is the era of Sarah Playing Tall.
That's what I was thinking of. Sarah Playing Tall.
You know, so why not? I don't. It just doesn't seem like this is this is a happy choice for her. She knows
Yeah,
it, but she feels like she needs to do it. But Fiona asked Faith to be her maid of honor, which was sweet.
that was sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean they're close, but yeah, I am surprised she didn't just ask all the girls.
Yeah. Well, would they have had to have traveled to San Francisco to do it?
Maybe,
Maybe
maybe,
so,
maybe.
because all those girls were so close.
Yeah, yeah. So then they ask Edie about her uncle Ernest. So this is where it's all coming down to.
Ernie and
So
Edie. Yeah.
so they think that Ernest had these gold coins.
Yes. He's
And
the rancher that had him, that Toddy had said he's getting the coins from a rancher in Benson Hills who died. And so yeah, they're trying to find out from Edie, tell us more about these. She's like, it was so interesting how she was so surprised. She had no idea.
yeah. Well, yeah, because she says that he was broke,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that we're gonna get like a big reveal when it comes
Yeah.
to we're gonna find this treasure in the finale, I think.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah, coming up. But she doesn't know anything about it. But we're starting to figure out that there was something shady going on with her uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then the stranger he gets a room there.
Oh yeah.
And then we find out that Hickam, Bill, and Lee all sick.
Oh my goodness, that was a funny scene. They all go to the hot
Mhm.
springs, to try to feel better
Yeah.
maybe, and they all spread the sickness. They're all in the infirmary, like cuddled under blankets and just coughing and sad. And
Mm.
then part of me was laughing, like, oh, are we gonna take cough medicine and have fever dreams?
Yeah, that would have been funny. I would have liked
The
that.
guys' dreams, but they just move on. They're like, but poor Rosemary, she is sad for her husband, you can tell, but she's more sad that this has completely derailed her play because these were all her male actors.
Yeah, all of her leads and the importance of being earnest.
And if these are true colds, they are man colds, and those men are out.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we forget that. I mean, you get a cold back then, you die. You could
Oh
die.
yeah, if it's a bad infection or something where they
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could be
I
bad.
mean, you just get a little chilled sometimes. That's all it took
Oh.
for your body to kind of shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there were a lot of people who basically died from being out in the rain too long.
Oh.
And that's crazy. We'd never, we don't realize how incredible
Yeah.
gift antibiotics
Oh
are and
yeah.
were.
Fever reducers, antibiotics,
Mhm.
Tamiflu, all those things that we have
Yeah, stuff we
nowadays.
just take for granted.
For sure. Yeah. No, so
Yeah.
they just kind of played this as comedic, these guys are sick and she's so mad. But yeah, if you think about it, if we want to be accurate for the time period, they could have been in danger.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have it was nice. So she gets the idea of doing an all-woman cast for Porn Speed Ernest. And what I liked about this was fun is that it's the first time and probably the only time on the show that Natasha could use her real
her
accent.
her real, yes, I was telling my husband, I'm like, she's from England, she's from England. Listen, this is actually
Yeah.
her real. So that was kind of fun.
That was really, I thought that was a fun touch that
Mm-hmm.
they
Nice.
had.
A
And
nice thing. Yeah.
yeah, all the roles will be women. What a modern touch.
Yeah, some of them it felt like they were trying to like deepen their voice a little bit,
Yeah.
but just to have like some nuance and difference
Mm.
because of all the people that were in the play. But it definitely got rid of some problems with like costumes and all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So
they did a on Broadway, and I don't think it did very well. So, but they did a 1776 that was all women
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, which is interesting to try. I don't mind when you have experiments like that, when people try something. Um, as long as it's not like as long as it's not done in a like we're better than everybody else, we're better
Yeah,
than the men, that this is
yeah,
like the men are trash, kind of thing. Like if it's
yes,
just like this is a fun experiment, let's do
yeah.
it. then I'm
or
all for it.
yeah, I hear that. I don't like that idea at all of thinking that we only way to lift women is to put down men. That's
Yeah.
never, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then Ava ends up being Gwendolyn in the play, and I do think it was funny when Rosemary can't even get the words out. She's like, what?
She can't say it. And Elizabeth's like, come on, you can do it.
Yeah, that was good. So then they record, and after the recording, Nathan brings Elizabeth flowers, which I thought was a sweet
That
moment.
was a very sweet touch. Court her, show her. So yeah, those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the flowers, and then the other hand, he has all these letters. So that
Oh
was,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and one of the letters are their letters of support.
Mhm.
And one of them is the dinosaur
Mhm. Oh
lady,
yeah, the
you know.
example. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool to kind of show that proof, listen, this is working and everything. Oh, and the cute part during the play when did Bill's head was on Hickham's shoulder as they're listening, because
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I just remember that moment. And then Ned's like is it called a Foley artist or the sound
Oh,
guy when he's like doing all the
Foley.
clap clap, yeah, on the side table for the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I- it- have you ever been to a play with a Foley?
No, I've seen oh, maybe I did once. Maybe I did. I have like a dim memory of something like that. And it
I
was kind of
love
cool.
Foley, and
Uh-huh.
I can think of two times. One was at Hale Center Theater in Orem. They did the 39 Steps, and which has been done by many, many, many companies, but they had a Foley table for that
Mm.
production because the 39 Steps, the play only has I think two actors, two or
Oh,
three
okay.
playing like, and they'll put on different hats and
Rotate and
it's really funny, very funny. But the addition of the Foley was just added another level so that when like they knock on their head, you're the bing, or stuff like that. I love that.
Oh, awesome.
And then I just saw this last Christmas at the Pleasant Grove Players, which if anybody's in this area, is a really charming theater that's in the Pleasant Grove Library.
Oh, very
You never would
fun.
guess in a million years that this, like, all of their productions have been amazing.
Hmm.
And that you get this quality in like this tiny little theater in the library. Incredible. But
Wow.
anyway, and they did It's a Wonderful Life radio play.
Oh, cool.
They had a Foley, and it was so fun.
Nice.
I loved, hearing like they have the rain or trickle, trickle, trickle down, or the all the different sound effects that you could
Yeah.
really,
And they have all these
really fun.
tools to make those sound effects that you
Yeah,
never would even have thought, and it works.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you ever get a chance to see a Foley play, a radio play, it's really a fun experience.
Cool.
And
We'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast, the delightful new novel by Melody Carlson, Welcome to the Honey B&B. Award-winning author Melody Carlson presents a charming contemporary novel of family, humor, and new beginnings. Jewel McCary returns to the family farm to help her aging parents to turn the old farmhouse into a charming bed and breakfast. But juggling her dad's dementia, an old flame, and troublesome neighbors is not what she had in mind when she uprooted her life. Pick up Welcome to the Honey B&B for 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com. That's 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com.
so Edie has this sit down with Lucas,
Mm.
and the basically this what was his name that you called him?
McGinty, I think.
McGinty.
Yeah,
And
McGinty.
McGinty has basically them all under his control because of he's like basically a loan shark.
Yeah. He
Uh
somehow got him to sign this loan and he holds it over their heads or
yeah,
something.
this bad contract,
Yeah.
and he'll
Yeah.
call the loan in if they argue at all.
Yeah.
So that's thing.
She's very nervous about it. It feels like she was like coming to tell Lucas, like, listen, I don't know if I should be telling you this, but this is bad. But the best part was McGinty doesn't play to lose. And Lucas goes, neither do I.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, that
is
was a good moment for Lucas. I mean, I am a little surprised they've been so slow on this Edie Lucas thing.
I know. I'm trying to like get a gauge for how much time has passed because whenever they're working with
Oh,
Ava, it
yeah.
feels like weeks have passed and she's running up this big tab and she's been around forever with this question mark of who she is. But then the Edie Lucas storyline is moving so slowly that it's just kind of, I'm not sure. But then again, maybe things move slowly in politics and ranching and figuring this out. So
Yeah.
that's
So
fine.
then we get this scene between Elizabeth and Fiona, and Fiona says she doesn't want to break this guy's heart, and Elizabeth says, "I know that when I broke off my engagement, it was going to be very painful. It was very hard, but it was the right thing to do."
Yeah. Whereas then I turned to my husband and I was like, I thought she broke off her engagement because Lucas was going to be in another city, but yet he's here in Hope Valley all the time.
Yeah.
But so that kind of gives Fiona some courage. But then it happened so fast. So I wrote down that, she, like Elizabeth's voiceover is we should protect the wanderers. And it's like Fiona is who she's talking about. But then Fiona gets this new opportunity and it's like,
Yeah.
boom, boom, everything changes.
Well, yeah, because she didn't have any other job. So when
Yeah.
she gets this job opportunity to start the station in Fort Haven, then she jumps on it because,
Yeah. Yeah. That
so
Rosemary's like, well, I can't go. I've got my family here. And Fiona's like, I'll do it. And then she's hugging everybody and goodbye and
it was fast.
driving
But
off into the sunset for this
yeah,
cool new opportunity.
here's my question though. Do you think this is it for Fiona? Do you think we're done?
Oh, it felt so abrupt. But then again, I thought she was off the show before this season. So
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't, I mean,
she might come back.
unless her new show is a total bomb, and, you know, I don't think we'll see Fiona again for a while at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Could
Yeah.
be true.
So, but yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what Team Lucas people, what they felt about this speech from Elizabeth.
Well, I was a little, I don't know. I was well, I'm just little. I felt bad
Yeah.
for. I kept going. I kept grumbling about the writers and the show writers, and I was like, just let it go. This accept their new gaslighting you into believing what Elizabeth's saying. But others might be like, oh, this is making sense. It's helping me tie a bow on that in the past, and move forward into here, and that's fine.
Yeah, and it felt like when the breakup happened, remember her talking about how like it just didn't feel like right or whatever. And it seemed like that
I was so
remember when
mad.
the I remember when the breakup happened that it felt like her statements were too fast for what she would feel at that time.
Exactly. It was out of the blue, and so
Forget
this,
exactly how she worded it, but it was like
yeah.
you wouldn't say that now.
No, And for her now to be like, this is how I felt. Yeah, I'm like, are you trying to like rewrite history for us here a little bit? But
Yeah, it's a little gaslighting. It's
ah,
fair. Totally.
oh, oh well.
So Faith gives Fiona a locket, and I thought when she opened that locket, there was going to be a picture of all the of that
No,
group of women. No,
yeah.
there was nothing in it, and it says now it's whatever fills your heart next.
That does seem kind of like a bye bye,
Yep.
you're going and cut this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, episode 9 is called Buried Treasure. The Garrison Gang comes for their gold with Hope Valley residents in the crosshairs. Angela visits the Schwartzman School, and Rosemary uncovers the truth about Eva.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about this episode?
So we had some action and some things. It kind of made me think back to season 1 or 2. No, not 2. 2 is Hamilton. 1 where Elizabeth gets like caught up in that cabin and it's like, oh no, and gets rescued. And
Yeah.
there's some of those vibes of we're in trouble, but we're going to try to get out of it ourselves. And then, and race to the rescue at the end. And
Yeah.
a lot of that going on, and some very funny moments with Rosemary and Elizabeth. I love it when they're together trying to spy on something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This weren't like the best gangsters ever. I mean, why didn't they do this at night or, and of all the people to abduct or whatever,
a
you would
Mountie
pick
cadet
a
and
Mountie cadet and the daughter of the
of a
Mountie,
Mountie
like probably not the
and
smartest choice.
have Molly overhear you. Oh,
Yeah.
her in the background each time. Oh, that's right. Because he was on the phone in the previous episode, and his name is Woody, and he's talking to someone named Sunny. And then Molly overhears him again. In this episode, she's like, but
Yeah.
then yeah, the Mountie cadet, the whole time I'm like, okay, Oliver, let's bring in your training and give him the old one too. So
So Sonny Garrison's escaped from Granville Prison.
yes.
Uh,
And he
they're
does all
trying to find the loot in the Martell Ranch. And
Mhm.
I would think that if this guy's like a most wanted kind of guy, I would think that whole area would just be crawling with Mountie officers.
Seriously, I know.
Yes,
They'd be like,
especially
he's
if there
this.
was a reward.
Oh yeah, and
Everyone's
knowing
gonna
that
want that
he would
reward.
probably come back here. Yeah, yeah. There was a lack of red surge. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
so Bill and Nathan going out on a stakeout,
Mhm.
and so that's always interesting. And Elizabeth, don't get hurt, be
Yeah,
safe.
I
Um,
know.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Merch Store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies Merch Store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
we have a man complaining about his lost trunk. So we
That-
know that Eva has it because we saw the inside of the trunk.
And it was men's clothes, and it
Men's
matches
clothes.
exactly. And the whole time I'm like, this whole town, they're really, really just not quite observant. Oh,
No.
what? The same trunk? Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. They're finally starting to put all the pieces together,
They
but it
are.
takes them a long time.
It really does.
It really does. And then Joseph and Angela going on the tour of the school.
That was sweet. That was I really liked that whole scene. I love the books, Little House on the Prairie, and this really made me think of when her sister Mary goes to college in Vinton, Iowa, and her parents
Yeah.
go out there with her and they come back so happy. This is a beautiful place for her. And I feel like for Angela, look how much she'll learn and grow and become self-reliant and independent, and her parents seeing her there. I really loved that whole scene.
Yeah. I mean, how much it would mean to you to see just people that are blind, like leading the school.
Mhm.
Um, just even that woman who's there at the beginning,
Mhm.
at just her welcoming her, and that how much that would mean to you to
Mhm.
see somebody like that. And I mean, this is not a fair analogy, but it's the only thing I can relate in my life is so I grew up outside of the main hub of our church, um and so for me going to BYU was always a big dream to to be in a place where there were people who believed the same things I believed, and that was like so comforting and so nice, like it's a good experience to be different, but it's also a good experience to be accepted. I know they
Yeah.
both have their place, I think.
Exactly. Oh, great analogy. And that I think is exactly it for Angela. Like, oh, and it's not just to be now in a bubble, it's this will widen her world
Yeah.
because she's able to have these opportunities and learn from others who understand. Because she said that in previous episodes, like, you don't quite understand what I'm going through, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Like obviously a disability is like way different than like, your religion,
Sure.
but just that sense of acceptance alone would
Yes.
be
So
really
comforting. And
important. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
You
Yes.
know. So that was good. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Angela that much going
I
forward.
know if she does choose to go and she leaves, I know. Will she be home for vacations and stuff, or will there be less of her on the show? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think less. I think
Yeah.
less. Elizabeth's looking into Eva
Mm-hmm.
and Rosemary with her giddy up.
Giddy up. She wants to see the trunk in any way possible. And Elizabeth's
That's
like,
really funny.
no. And Lee's like, you're not gonna go into her room, dear.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun when they were kind of spying on her. That was funny.
But they want to finally figure this out. And finally we've got some movement on trying to figure out who this gal is.
Yeah. So and this maybe gets a little dicey. But they have Lucas debating about whether he should use an executive order for the park.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is that obviously like a large portion, let's be honest, a large portion of the When Calls the Heart viewers probably voted for the President Trump, which no judgment. Whatever you do with your vote is your vote. And he has come out with all these executive orders, like lots. And I guess my question is that I guess what kind of commentary the show could inadvertently be making about current
Oh, with this.
politics,
Yeah.
and does that, if it's seen as being inadvertently pro-Trump,
Will
does
that
that
have some
actually
problems?
does that act no, well, I mean, does it actually help the show?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. For those, yeah. Well, and I think too that every president does, like President Biden had executive orders, and it's an interesting tool to use because they're pointing out to Lucas here, if you do this, then you might not get any votes. And he's like, well, it's the right thing to do. Well, if you do something by executive order, doesn't that mean the next person could come in and undo it by executive order?
Yeah.
So, and that we see that in our own country, every 4 years, it's like, now do this, now do this. And voters are sometimes like, this is why I put you in office. That's what I wanted. And others are like, no, you should go through Congress. So here's me being like wishy-washy and not taking a stand here because I can't, with my job as a journalist, I can't talk about politics.
Yeah.
But it's interesting historically because I keep going back to what happened in Utah, where in the 1990s, President Bill Clinton came and stood in another state and carved out a whole piece of Utah by executive order as a national monument. And that made some people really happy and others really upset. So, and
Well, and
then,
a lot of executive orders are deceptive because they're not actually, I mean, none of them are law, but like a lot of them are, we are going to create a committee or a council or
yeah,
a study. We're going to commission to look into this issue.
yeah,
And that's seen as sort of advocating or even implementing that issue. There are some like immediate stops, immediate changes
yeah,
in names of things, changes in some stuff like that is done. But on the other hand, like I guess I feel a little bit like if, again, this gets dicey, but if Lucas really believes in democracy, shouldn't he, like, if he says this is the right thing to do, is it really the right thing to do?
yeah, yeah. If you're, yeah. And if it's,
I don't know. I don't
and
know.
I don't know either. It'd be interesting to see what the viewers think. And maybe we're thinking too deep about a show, but this is an interesting point you bring up because if he's just doing it for his friend and his friendship with Lee, then you kind of get into some ethical situations where if you're the governor technically of everybody, then should you be, looking, but then what would he be accused of pandering to a special interest group if he's only looking out for the cattle
Yeah.
ranchers? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Where's,
and obviously this was filmed long before the election, so
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like they were purposely
pointing out current
eh, they,
current
that they were
things.
personally trying to comment. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
um I could picture the show getting a little bit of a bump
yeah,
by
yeah,
being
yeah,
perceived as
as
being a pro-Trump storyline
yeah,
for Lucas.
yeah, of this, especially for all those Team Lucas fans that are like, he's a strong leader, he's charismatic, he knows he's got principles, it's so interesting, the whole thing,
Yeah,
because I'm curious when this was filmed. How far in advance do they film these? Like,
this is why I wish Caroline was here, because she
she
would
would know.
absolutely know
She
this.
would totally know this. Well, because anytime I see the behind the scenes stuff that Elizabeth's posting,
I feel like it was last summer, but I don't know that as a fact.
yeah, because she'll post behind the scenes stuff, and then I'm like, what are the rules in Canada? Because every single cast member or crew member in the background has a big old face mask on, so it makes me think it's COVID era, but maybe they just have those rules.
I think they still have those rules.
Or
I think it was filmed last summer, but I'm not positive.
yeah, yeah,
I'd have to look it
because
up.
Hallmark can turn their movies around pretty fast, but this is a show and this is
Right.
different. So
Yeah, and I think they filmed 11 and 12 close together,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, maybe they did. And I said Elizabeth, but I meant Erin Krakow. I follow her
Oh,
on
right.
I follow her on Instagram, and she'll do like behind the scenes stuff, and it's kind of cute. It's cute.
So I'd be curious to know, the listeners, what do you think about this? Do you think it would be seen by the majority of the When Calls the Heart audience as a positive arc for Lucas to be getting a Trump-like edit, or a negative?
Yeah.
And I could see both arguments being made.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's interesting. But the stranger talks to Allie and Oliver about the map. Molly is just very skeptical all along about this guy.
All along, because shouldn't these two be skeptical as well? He's like, I noticed you had a map, kids. I want to go find a tree trunk. Yeah, that's it. And they're like, okay. Just
Yeah.
I mean, I know
And then
they're
Eva dunking the trunk out her window.
Oh, that was so funny. Was that the same wagon that had been parked there when Elizabeth and Nathan fell off the balcony into the wagon?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
It's
Very
just its parking
convenient.
stall.
Yeah. It's very convenient. And then Mike finds the trunk.
Here's your trunk.
Yeah.
Poor Mike.
So we finally find out the story about Eva. Evidently, she had worked for this magician who would scam people. It was like a fortune teller kind of a thing.
Clive Maxwell, the mentalist, is what Lee called him.
She would find out all the information, and then he would call it out as if he was like clairvoyant, not flamboyant, clairvoyant. And the Pinker is Sky Pinkerton. They're after Eva because she was part of the scam with them.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and
she's on the run, hiding.
And so this stranger guy, he leaves when he finds out Oliver's cadet. And so he says Garrison is looking for treasure. Then he takes Allie and Oliver, and she's very smart. She leaves that ribbon.
The ribbon, that was so smart. Yeah. There's a book that I just love by Christiane Hunter called A Noble Masquerade, where I think she's following a guy that's been kidnapped, and she rips off pieces of her dress and leaves it along the way to mark the way.
Yeah.
But that I think was like kind of at a fork or something, because they see the ribbon later on and they're like, oh, that's Allie's. That was perfect. Good move.
It's always nice when you can Hansel and Gretel it,
There it is.
It's always smart.
That's the way. Yes. Anything to do to let people know where you are. They were thinking, even though they weren't thinking in the beginning.
It was smart on Allie, and smart on Elizabeth to see it and know that was. And so then they dig up the treasure and it's empty.
I know. And I just love that. He's like, this is my cousin, Sonny Garris. Like, Garrison? I know you. But yeah. And then the box is empty. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy was not a great outlaw.
No.
I don't think he's not going to get far.
He's not at all.
Yeah. He's no Billy the Kid or something like that.
And then the whole box is empty. So now I'm like, well, where did all the coins go from the Great Train Gold Coin Robbery of 1912? Or whatever.
So Lucas tells them he's going to do the executive order with the original boundaries and no more cattle.
Yeah.
So he's basically planning on standing up to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, McGinty. And Edie is just like, oh, okay, okay, but
Yeah.
let's be friends anyway. And yeah.
Like I'm not sure why he didn't just put it through because I guess he figures that the legislator's been bought and paid for by these guys.
Oh, maybe so. Oh, maybe that's true. Yeah. I mean, I really know that Elizabeth and Nathan are together, but Lucas is I just really like his character. I mean, he's
Yeah.
just looking at her with those smoldery eyes, like,
Yeah, I wish that we had gotten like a little bit more flirting between Edie and
hmm
Lucas.
hmm
It's been pretty business,
He's
business,
very,
business.
he's been very stern, and maybe that's
Yeah.
good to have these boundaries and these, because I am the governor and I don't want this to look, he
It's just
wants,
not as fun
I
for us
know,
as viewers, like
I
if there
know.
was it would have been great if there was like a scene with Edie with like her hair down and like Lucas stumbles into, oh,
This is
you're getting like maybe at the salon, you're getting your hair. Oh, Edie,
Oh, and she looks more feminine. Yeah,
yeah,
if she,
something like that would have been fun.
uh-huh.
It's been pretty business.
It has. But they do say, let's remain friends, and they're gonna eat this. They knock their cold chicken drumsticks together and eat that
Yeah, that was
hilarious
fun.
meal from May and Mike. But
Yeah. Well, so because Angela and them are gone, and so Mike and May just like pull together this random assortment of food.
pickles and day old bread and oh, so funny. But you're exactly right. My husband was like, it'd be so funny if she did like take off her gold spectacles and let down her hair, and then Lucas is like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a woman.
Yeah. There should have been something like that. That would have been nice. And then we got everybody celebrating. Sonny gets arrested,
hmm
and then everybody is cheering on Oliver and Allie.
Well, and how
Safety
did
didn't.
they find out so fast? I thought my first time, like, did Hickam get back and say but they all walk in together and everybody's like, you did it. I'm like, who
It's
who
true.
who
That's a good
told
point.
them? But it's just a wait what, but it's fine because it was super cute how they were all so happy that you're out of danger, because could have been really bad.
Maybe that was the main celebration. It's just, oh, you're back,
Yeah, that's true.
as
Yeah,
opposed to,
yeah.
yeah. So Angela, she says she's not ready to
Oh,
go.
sweet.
And then we get um Minnie saying to her, like, you remember when you didn't think you
The
could go down the
sledding.
sledding,
Yeah.
and you ended up loving it. And so this is moving for her because she doesn't want to say goodbye to her daughter. She knows it's the right thing.
Yes, it really was moving. And I feel that because I'm getting to be to this point where my teenagers are growing up to now
Yeah.
spread their own wings. I have a son on a mission for our church, and
Yep.
I wanted that for him. That's so great. But at the same time, I'm like, oh man, I miss him so much. And
Yeah.
when he comes back, he's going to be in college and starting to make decisions and live his own life. And of course I need to let him go. That's the whole thing that parents do, but it still is. So I really felt for
Yeah.
this whole
I think a
scene.
lot of the parents will really feel that moment for
Mm-hmm.
sure. The
Mm-hmm.
and having to, like, it would have been so easy for it to give the opposite advice.
It would have. Oh, just stay here. We'll take
Yeah,
care of you.
I
Look,
agree with you. You're not ready,
you spilled tea. That's fine. You're not ready. Stay here. Instead,
Mhm.
she's like, "Do you remember sledding?" And of course, all parents are thinking of that first time their little baby goes down on a sled, and oh, that was a
Yeah.
really beautiful, poignant. Good kudos to the writers. I loved that whole part.
Yeah. Because I mean, for me, my situation was like very different because my mom was pregnant when I went away to school, and so I was like, there was no hesitation at all. I was
Yeah.
like, the last place I want to be is like in baby mode, as a
They needed your
teenager.
bedroom. They were like, well, okay,
Yeah,
Rachel, and
and my,
good. Go be an adult.
and my dad, when I turned 18, my dad, he wrote a Declaration of Independence for me, and he
Oh.
and he got up on this sofa and he's like reading, he's like, hear ye.
This is where you get your love of theater from, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, because there was no human being more ready, especially when my mom got pregnant. Like that was, I've got to get out of this house as soon as possible.
I am out. I know I left at 17, went out to BYU, and my little brother was waiting by the door of my bedroom, like at 4 a.m. when I was going to start driving. He's like, so you're done? You're all packed? Okay, we'll see ya,
Yeah. I was actually just talking to somebody about that that the like the expectation that the parents will save the rooms is
Oh,
like
okay.
that when you have a big family, that's just not
It doesn't happen.
there at
It just
all.
doesn't
Like it
happen.
was never like it didn't really matter to me because my family had only lived in in the house they were at for a year.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like, it wasn't like a homestead. It wasn't something I was attached to. So I didn't care.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, like when you've got I think when you have 4+ kids, like you
You
just
need the space.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can't.
No, there's just, I'm
Oh,
sorry. No, it's
no,
not going
no
to happen.
holding on.
I know. And then others, it's like they become like sewing rooms or exercise rooms or, or guest bedroom. And yeah, there's just not a shrine to that child who's no longer living there.
Yeah.
It's there. No.
But I think it was Lee who tells Lucas, you're not just declaring a park, you're declaring war.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
think that was Lee,
right.
but
Was that him or was that
yeah.
Edie? Somebody said that to him. So
Oh
that'd
yeah,
be
somebody said it.
that's setting up something that could now happen in these next few episodes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna get a lot.
definitely.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be intense.
I know.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Lucas and how modern they make him as a character. Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
I think that's fair. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think of these episodes. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. We covered a lot of ground, and so we'd love to hear what you think. And Mary, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter @_ Mary Richards. Instagram is Mary Richards Reports and Facebook Reporter Mary Richards.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And make sure you check out our playlist with all of our One Calls the Heart content. There's some great stuff from years past. We haven't been able to do any interviews this year because it's because of the fire and just people not wanting to do a lot of publicity right now, which totally understand. So we haven't done, but we have lots of past interviews that you'll love. So check those out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That's the cheapest and the easiest, quickest way that you can really help our podcast a lot is going onto iTunes, giving a 5-star review. Please, please, please help us with that. And then if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And if you click on the notifications, that makes sure you get notified every time we have an episode. We appreciate that a lot. And we have our Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support us financially, and we try to make it really worth your while. And you get to be part of. We have monthly polls for selecting our new upcoming episodes. I just posted one yesterday, so definitely check out the Patreon. We have watch-alongs and Q&As with the stars, and they're really fun. So take a look at that. And we have our merch store where we have tons of Hardy's inspired merch and the merch store. So you definitely want to take a look at that. And we have a new Dashery address for the merch store, which helps us like way more. So if you're gonna check out the merch store, make sure you use that Dashery link. But there's just lots of good stuff over there. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.